Hey, Boomslack here. So, I'm trying something new today. I want to make a video kind of based around some foods I like to cook. What I'm making here tonight is something a little simple. It's just a grilled cheese sandwich with mushrooms and pesto sauce here. So I'll go through the ingredients, what I have, everything that I'm going to be using, just kind of at the start of the video. I obviously have I have whole wheat. This is actually sugar-free bread, but it's a decent enough bread. It works pretty well. I have a standard white mushroom that I got from the store yesterday. Then I'm going to be using provolone cheese as the base of the cheese, and then I have this smoky cheddar cheese that I'm going to use to kind of create additional flavor profile. It's going to be paired with the traditional basil pesto, and then I'm going to use coconut oil to act as the basis of the grilling, frying. The tools that we're going to be using, pretty straightforward. We have my 9-inch skillet. This is going to be for the actual, it's not on right now, but this is going to be used for the actual grilled cheese. And then I have my 4-inch skillet. This is going to be for the mushrooms, spatula for flipping, and then a wooden spatula for stirring the mushrooms. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the mushroom skillet here. We're going to turn it on about 50% heat. We need to get it nice and warmed up. We're going to turn it down. Say hello to Odin. We're going to turn it down when the time comes. We have here just a little 4-inch knife. We'll use that to actually slice our mushroom. And you can use a larger knife if you would like. You have all sorts of options. I just use this one for the relatively good control the smaller knife gives me. What we're looking for is we're looking for mushroom slices about this thick. Looking for about that thick. Now, something I do like about this meal is that it is actually relatively healthy. And so that's kind of a good target for decent meals. So like this mushroom piece right here is a little thick. I guess I made it a little too thick. So we can either attempt to slice it in half if you're comfortable with that, or you can also cut it if you're not the most comfortable with slicing in half. You can also instead cut it, we call this width ways. You can dice it into really small pieces, but what we're looking for, what we're going to do here is we're going to cut each one in half. Up here we're going to cut it like this, so that way they're about that size. This one is fine. As we can see, it kind of fits in. This one is also fine. This one needs to be cut in half. And we are actually going to include this stock. I'm going to put that to the side. Once we get everything cut up to the right size, this one is, up to judgment. I'm going to leave it this size. This one is too big, so we'll cut that up. So once we get everything cut in half, from here, at this point, our skillet should be nice and hot. I'm getting some water in my hand to kind of test it out. Okay, so we can see the water rolling around. Actually, we got it too hot. I'm going to turn it down, move it off, then move the skillet off to reduce a little bit of heat. We're going to grab the coconut oil. Figure how to open it up with one hand. I should have had this pretty open, but get just a little knife and get yourself piece, probably not that large. Drop it in there. Move the coconut oil, because you do not want coconut oil beside your stove. It will actually cause the coconut oil to melt. So we're gonna move it around inside of the actual pan. Make sure the whole thing is coated. I like to actually get it swirling around the inside. You can kind of see it going down. And it cooled off for a little bit, so we can put it back on there. What we do here is we get the mushrooms, put it onto the thing. Again, make sure that it's turned down to about only 30% or so. We don't want to burn our mushrooms. We're going to spread them out a little bit and get those. See, I think this one was a little too thick, but we'll make sure that that one stays like right in the middle. We'll spread those around, and we're going to turn the little the bottom eye here up to about 50% again. I'm going to turn mushrooms down a little bit. They're making some sizzling noises. It's not exactly the sound you want to hear, so I'm going to put a little bit more coconut oil in there. Pick it up, move it around, kind of reduce it from the heat just a little bit. I put a touch more coconut oil in there to kind of act as a buffer. That's something that you can do as you're cooking them. You can use, your wooden spatula or whatever to continue to break up the mushrooms if that's something you need to do. So they're a little less sizzling, so we put it back on there. You should turn it down, probably like maybe 10%. While we're waiting for the large one to heat up. So from here, it's kind of a better look at what our mushrooms are looking like. These are pretty much done. We're going to turn the eye off. Make sure that they stay moving. You don't want to burn them. And so that's what this is for again. We went ahead and turned the eye off. Mushrooms are very fast cookers. So these are nice and done, so that's good. So those are going to stay warm on the eye. They'll cook a little further, which we're okay with. That's why we turned it off ahead of time. So while this is warming up, we're going to go ahead and prep. And what you're going to do, you're going to get your basil sauce or pesto, or you can also do this by hand, like with your own combination of olive oil, basil, Parmesan cheese, and such like that. I just use this because it's already here, ready to go. So we're going to make sure it's properly mixed up. And then you're actually going to put like a fairly hefty amount of this on here. We're talking like a glob that size. And you're gonna spread it around. Make sure it covers the whole bread piece. And we really are looking for like that much. And we're going to do that to both sides. Make sure it's like really nice and put in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to layer the cheese around the mushrooms. We're going to put a slice of provolone. I have 2 slices left, so that works out. So we put the cheese to cover that. As you can see, we don't quite cover it all. So we can actually break it in half. Okay, so you can kind of see and hear the sizzle. So we know that's good. So we're going to get another hefty glob of coconut oil. You can use whichever spatula you want. Again, move it around. And this is quite a bit of coconut oil. I accidentally put just a little too much. If I continue to swirl around, yeah, as you can see, it's kind of like starting to pull up a little bit there. So we're just gonna pour a little bit into our mushrooms there. And that's much better. Just get this half of the bread, stick it on there, reduce the heat probably to about 40%. Wow, that's tragedy, but it is what it is. So I'm just gonna use my chef knife and I'll show the size cut here in a second. So what we're looking for, make sure not to cut yourself on the edge of the blade. We're looking for slices about that thick. You can see it's hefty, but not the thickest. And we're gonna kind of layer a little thinner if you can. We're gonna layer that on basil pesto here. One more slice. It is breaking on me, which is proving to actually be a little convenient. We come over here, we can see that our cheese is indeed starting to melt, which is what we want. We're gonna make sure that the bread doesn't stick. And we're going to get our mushrooms ready to put on top of this. Okay, so from here, we're going to get our mushrooms. We're just going to kind of very carefully scoop them onto the provolone cheese. And then spread it out so that way the whole sandwich is covered. Then what we're going to do is, we kind of know that this is the right size and it will fall. We probably should have done it the other way around. You live and you learn. You're going to kind of layer the smoky cheese over top. And then we'll put the last slice of bread on top. We'll push it down just a little bit so that way it's nice and secure. Now, flipping this the first time is always going to be a little difficult, and I will end up using two instruments to do it. What I do is I use one to hold the top piece of bread while sliding underneath. So then you're holding it. Now this is the easy part. The hard part is getting it rotated. And I kind of like hold it in like a pinching manner and do a fast rotate. And then set it down. So what we see here is kind of this like golden brown color. We can start to see the cheese melting throughout. The smoky cheddar cheese will actually melt faster than the provolone cheese, just based off of kind of how it's made. Use this knife right here to just kind of make sure that that's inside of the sandwich. And you can see that we're still at about, let's say 40% or so heat. You can use the same 4-inch skillet, but like I said, I use that to kind of keep my mushrooms a little warm for a little bit while I'm prepping the rest of it. And then we just kind of sit here and let it cook a little bit. But I keep moving it around just to make sure it doesn't stick. One of the purposes of the coconut oil that we put on the pan while it was warm was to make sure it didn't stick. Now, as you can see, I am using steel cookware. You can do this with Teflon or whatever. Just remember with the Teflon to not overheat it. You don't want to overheat Teflon. But right now the goal is to get this nice and melted. You can also do this in like a toaster oven if you have one of those, to make a less fried and more toasted, I guess is the best way, a toasted sandwich. You'll still need to saute the mushrooms, but so yeah, at this point I'm just kind of flipping around a couple times. You get the heat distributed. You can actually, yeah, you can really start to see where the cheese is melting. So here at this angle, you can actually see where the cheese is starting to melt just a little bit. It's actually sliding out the sandwich as the bread itself shrinks a little bit, losing moisture as it's heating up. You can hear the crispiness of the bread. I found coconut oil to be as effective as butter. Pretty much all the applications I've used it in thus far. And then while it's cooking, you can get something to pair it with. I'm going to pair it with, like, drinking wise. You can also come up with different side ingredients. Some good side ingredients that would go with this would be probably, if I were to make it right now, I would probably make like some steamed broccoli with garlic and ginger sauce kind of drizzled over it. But right now I don't have broccoli, so I'm not going to make that. I'll make it another day. Drinks wise, I'm going to pair this with peach and honey sparkling water. I think that will go well. At this point, we can kind of see it's nice and melted, very warm, and this is ready for consumption. So I appreciate you watching this video of me just cooking a random grilled cheese, but creating something more than just a regular grilled cheese. This is a style of food that is actually quite fascinating because it is so simple, and yet you can turn that simplicity into the ability to create fantastic flavors. So give it a shot. Tell me what you think. Until then, see you.